All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to our third Advisors in Residence session of 2024. So tonight we're with our whole person team. I think everyone knows me, but I'm Jamie, the Director of the Young Leaders and Whole Community Programs here at Greenhouse. So I know a lot of you have joined before one of these advisor sessions, but if you wouldn't mind raising your hand or an emoji if this is your first time attending, I would love to see that. I think maybe Akshay, it's your first time. Yes, so thank you everyone who's joining for the first time. So if you haven't already, please introduce yourselves in the chat, maybe where you are Zooming from. And if you'd like to, and if you haven't already, you can change your background to where your happy place is. So my happy place is Antigua, Guatemala here. So you can see a little volcano popping off in the back there. So you're welcome to do that if you'd wish. You can kind of scroll through where other people have picked. It's a lot of beautiful scenic places that everyone has picked, a lot of nature. So just a reminder, we are recording the panel portion of tonight's session. Also a quick welcome to the staff joining us tonight. So we have Anne Marie, Jesse, Emily, Justin, and our new program intern, Crawford. So thank you guys for joining us. Also, the goal and intention of this session and the whole person team is to provide the knowledge and tools to help you live your best lives. So we're super excited to bring back 2 advisors from 2023 and 2 new advisors from 2024 joining us all across the country. So returning, just some quick introductions, is Sam King. So he is from Connecticut, but actually Zooming from South Carolina. He's the Director of Sustainability for the U.S. Marist School Network. He works with youth leaders across the country to promote grassroots efforts to address climate change, species loss, pollution, and environmental injustice. Also returning is Jill Pillsbury from California. So Jill is on our California board at Greenhouse. She also helped launch Greenhouse in California. She started a second career as a life and executive coach, where she has successfully helped bridge the gap between owners, principals, researchers, and administrators ages 22 to 35. And our new advisors joining us this evening, we have Elsa Holguin from Colorado. Elsa is a social entrepreneur and president and CEO of the Denver Preschool Program, where she oversees all organizational activities and provides direction and leadership toward the achievement of DPP's overall mission, vision, and strategic plan. Also new with us is Erik Estrada from Colorado. So Erik previously spoke at Symposium and also Ignite, so some of you might recognize him. He is a partner and attorney at law firms in Denver and practices corporate and securities law. Prior to law school, Erik was a program officer and a fellow at 2 different Denver foundations. So all our advisors and why we chose them are exceptional people living a life of their choosing. They plan and adapt as circumstances change, live a life of learning, growth, and connection. And they're all here to help you do those things as well. So quickly to go over our agenda. So the advisors will introduce themselves. We'll quickly move into the panel discussion with the topic of contemporary personal development and finding balance in the digital era, which is especially relevant during an election and probably what's going on in maybe your backgrounds or on the TVs this evening. So tonight will be a longer panel discussion with shorter breakout groups as the individual team session. And then just a heads up, in December, on December 3rd, we'll move into shorter panel discussions with longer breakout groups, with workshops and deeper topic-focused sessions on some of these topics you're hearing today. So just a note for alumni, as the advisors introduce themselves and participate in the panel, just make some notes of what questions you have for them as a follow-up to what you heard during the panel, or maybe more about their experience, and you'll get a chance to ask them those questions during the breakout groups. Then we'll move into alumni introductions, and the breakout groups with advisors and alumni. So if you can, keep your camera on, especially when we get a photo. I'll get a photo after the panel and quickly before the breakout groups. And then the breakout groups, just as a reminder, are with 2 different advisors. They're the ones you pre-selected ahead of tonight's session. Okay, so let's move into the advisor introductions. So our advisors, if you could answer this question when you introduce yourself. How did you find and maintain a balance between your online presence and your personal well-being? And what advice would you offer to others striving to achieve this balance? And if you could also share a fun fact about you, we'd love to hear that as well. Jill, we'll start with you, and then followed by Sam, Elsa, and Erik.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. It's good to be here tonight. I'm looking forward to the next hour or so. Let's see. So I'm going to jump in. You kind of did a great job with our little background professional history. So I'm zooming in from Laguna Beach, California today, and we were talking before some of you got on. It's a gorgeous day or gorgeous evening here. So nice to be here with all of you. Answering the question, how do I find and maintain balance between my online presence and personal well-being? I'm sure that all of us would probably agree that finding balance of any kind takes constant awareness and self-assessment. And I think the 2 things that I use most effectively in trying to find balance in this digital age are simplifying things. So less is more for me. And second, staying authentic to myself. So again, simplifying, less is more. I think really that comes down to time management for me and trying to prioritize and identify my need to things that I do online, and then the things that I need to do offline. And the things that I do because I choose or I want to. So need tos versus want to, online and offline. So prioritizing those and time managing those. And then the second thing I mentioned is staying authentic to myself. You know, who am I? What's important to me? What makes me feel good about myself? What helps me foster confidence and pride? And I think if I can try to find space to focus in and prioritize that authenticity, that really goes a long way in creating balance for me. Fun fact. I don't know why, when I was thinking a little bit about a fun fact, I went way back to my years of living in San Francisco. On an afternoon, I found myself riding across the Golden Gate Bridge after a mountain bike ride in Marin County. And it happened to be the afternoon and the moment that the Loma Prieta earthquake hit. It was a 7.1 earthquake, and I was on my mountain bike swaying and moving up and down like I was riding in the ocean on the Golden Gate Bridge. So at the time, it felt really exciting as I came across the bridge and back into the marina where I lived, and I saw the devastation. It was, you know, a little more dramatic, but in the moment, it was kind of exciting.
That is exciting and scary.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam, you're up.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for your inspiring share, Jill. Always enjoy hearing more from your story. And what's up, everybody? Great to be with you this evening. I'm Sam King. It's great to be back for my second year as a Greenhouse advisor. And I think this is a challenge that all of us face when we're inundated by technology and a lot of competing interests vying for our attention. And so I think one of the most important qualities of maintaining balance is setting energetic boundaries with our technology. I love to find unplugged time to be outdoors, to go swimming, to go hiking, and to run outside. And I find that both cathartic for my physical well-being, but I also think I have some of my best insights for writing and public speaking when I am unplugged and outdoors. So some of you may have heard of this idea of deep work versus shallow work. I find that for a lot of the day when I'm glued to email and to meetings, I can sometimes be in this shallow work mode where I'm kind of subsisting. But I think it's important to find time to enter into what's called deep work, where you can really be fully invested in a given project without sort of um, diverting your attention. So you can block out time in your calendar for that kind of deep work. You can totally isolate yourself from your devices. James Clear has a great book called Atomic Habits that talks about like designating a place in your home where you don't bring your technology, for instance, or it might be a meditation space where you only meditate there. So those are a few habits that can help compartmentalize your life and do the deep work that's ultimately going to help bring you to the next level of your career. A lot of us stay in the urgent and important realm of things, but I think a lot of personal growth happens in the not urgent but important part of life. So doing things and tasks that aren't urgent. It's not that email you need to respond to within the hour, but are building your life somehow in a long-term trajectory. And a fun fact is I've lived in 5 countries. I've been really lucky to travel and learn different languages, and including Spanish and Sinhala and Tamil in South Asia. And so I love the experience of visiting the edges of your comfort zone, of being in a different place and learning to connect with people from various walks of life. So that's a fun fact about me, and I'll pass the baton.
Income next. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here this evening and the opportunity to talk to you and share a little bit of my own work and my journey. The balance between online presence and personal well-being is tough, and I have to say that I didn't figure it out right away. It has been incrementally that I have figured out the places to do it. And this is what has worked for me. One of them is that because of health reasons, my husband and I, and it was his health that I'm lucky to support, got trained on transcendental meditation about 4 years ago, and learned that it was extremely helpful for him to deal with some pain issues that he was having from side effects of medication as a result of a kidney transplant. And he had to take medications that impacted his system. And so he was dealing with some pain. He was able to get himself completely away from pain medication by doing transcendental meditation. And it's also been a great connecting point for us because we meditate together every morning and every evening for 20 minutes. And it has really helped us to do the work that we need to do. But the second thing that I had to learn is that disconnect for me had to mean disconnect. And that means that the evenings are my evenings and I have to be doing physical work. So I also joined a group 5 years ago that is, I'm definitely the rookie because they are so good, of these immigrant women that are primarily from Mexico and South America. Most of them don't speak English and most of them have really tough jobs. And they let me join their Zumba class. They are like extraordinarily good, but I get to dance. They put up with me. I think I'm at about 80% of the time I don't make a mistake, but they are like 100%. And they are so much fun. And it is where I get to spend time for myself. And it is my own space and I'm able to do that disconnect and do some physical work every evening. And we get together Monday through Thursday, and it has been really that balance that I had to look at. And throughout the day, I do have to take breaks. So I actually set reminders on my phone so that it will tell me to at least get up and walk for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if it means going to have a glass of water or whatever it may be, is really intentional. Then I don't know about you, but I have a very, very large family. I have 5 sisters. I have a brother. I have 28 nieces and nephews that some of them already have kids. So, so they need to know that I'm not going to be reading every single email that they send, every posting that they have, and if that they really, really need to get a hold of me, they have to call me because I'm not going to look at their text message or whatever it is that is going on. But I do have to have, my watch so that if something does come up, I can do it, but they know how to find us and how that has happened. And that has been the most challenging part. For me, it's not the work of the personnel, it's the family that is also connected to technology. And they're trying to connect you to their connection. And most of the time it's like, no, I'm going to be connected to you, not the connection to the connection. So fun fact that I will tell you, I should have been a big green light about where I was going to be in my life. I got fired from my first job after half an hour. I only worked for half an hour on that job, and then I thought, I'm going to have a problem. So I'm in Denver, Colorado. One of the very famous entertainment venues is Lakeside Amusement Park that a lot of people used to attend, and it was a great city. I got a job there. I had just arrived from Mexico. I had just learned English, so I was about 18 and a half. And I got a job at one of the concession stands. And they gave me a pass to go into my cousin and I got the job, same job. I gave a cup of water for free to a woman that was making a baby bottle. And she asked me if she can have some of the water so that she can make a baby bottle. And I was informed that I was supposed to charge her for just a glass of water for a baby bottle. And I said, no, I am not going to charge for a glass of water for a baby bottle. I think that is unethical. That is not okay. This is where it is. And they said, well, this is our policy. You can either stay here or you can leave. So I told my cousin, I think we need to go have some fun. We have a pass to stay at Lakeside. We both got fired. And we spent the whole night at Lakeside having a great time. And I learned about doing your work with values and implementing your values and understanding what your values are. So that was a big lesson. It was my initial journey into my career in the nonprofit sector. And I should have seen it, but it's a story that I said, you never know what you're going to learn, even when you get fired.
Thank you, Elsa. That's a great story. Erik, hi. Your turn to tell us about how you find and maintain balance between your online presence and personal well-being, and a little fun fact about you.
Sounds great. And my apologies for being late. We just wrapped up a meeting. I'll start with the fun fact. So when I graduated from CU Boulder in 2002, I bicycled across the United States of America. So from the Golden Gate Bridge to the U.S. Capitol building, took 62 days, 4,000 miles, life-changing experience. That was the fun fact. So the other Paunch, you guys are too young. The other Paunch rides a motorcycle. I ride a bike. And if you didn't get that joke, just go ahead and try to Google me right now and you're going to find out the answer. In terms of balance, I think this framework will really help you. It's certainly helped me in my life, which is, it's very simple, but I think it's powerful. Individual, passion, vision, action, reality. We're all unique individuals, right? All have different backgrounds, different parents. We grew up in different cities. So we're unique, right? And from that uniqueness, we have things that we love to do. Those are our passions. I'm gonna come back to that word in a second. But you guys, I know you have passions, things that make you feel alive. This is the leadership step, is when you formulate a vision based off of that passion. So what do you want to do with that passion? A good tangible example for me is I'm very passionate about the nonprofit sector. And so one day at lunch with my friend, he said, you should write a book about it. So actually that vision came from my friend because he knew my passion and I worked towards that vision. Then that's the next step, which is action, right? When you have that idea, do you work towards it to make that a reality? So very simple framework, but I think for me, balance comes from that, chasing things that you love. Do you formulate visions off of the things that you love? Do you work day to day to make those things a reality? Because I know you've experienced this framework. And when you get to that R step, reality, you feel really good, right? And it's cyclical and reaffirming. Thanks for that. That was it. Individual, passion, vision, action. Then reality is the last one. So again, once you get to the R, you know, when I get the published copy of my book in the mail and I open it in front of my kids, right, that is reaffirming. And so then you think of the next vision. So what's next? And so coming back to passion, I told this to you know, the colleagues when we were prepping for this call. I heard this within the last month, and then for me, when I heard this, it made all the sense in the world. Any guesses? I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Any guesses on the Latin root of the word passion? Any guesses? Put it in the chat feature. I'll check that real quick. No guesses? Okay. It means to suffer. So when I heard that, again, it made perfect sense. The things that you love to do, you're willing to suffer for. Let's go back to the bike ride. You know, that's a lot of suffering, but I loved it, right? I loved biking. I loved the cause that we were biking for. It was to benefit people with disabilities. And so you put yourself through that suffering because you love it. And then just to bring it home, Steve Jobs said the same thing to the graduates at Stanford after he was diagnosed with cancer. He said, if you really love it, right, when it gets difficult, you're going to push through that period and you're going to get to the other side. If you don't love it and, you know, you're sane, you're going to quit because any rational person would. And so for me, that balance is found in chasing those things that you love. You're willing to suffer for those things. And when you do that, again, from my experience, you do find that balance in life. I do it, you know, for things that I love to do for fun. I do it professionally. You know, I do it, you know, in my volunteer experiences. And for me, that creates the balance that I need in my life. So that's that.
Thank you, Eric. I love how we haven't even got to the panel questions yet. We've already gotten so much out of just your introductions from all of you. So thank you so much. Okay, so we're gonna head into our short panel Q&A. So we're gonna start with Sam, and Sam's topic is mindful resilience. And just another reminder that all these topics our advisors are starting out with will be the focus of their breakout groups and the different workshops on December 3rd. Okay, so Sam, what are some mindfulness practices that individuals can cultivate to build resilience and adaptability in today's rapidly changing world? You kind of mentioned getting unplugged and going outdoors in your introduction. What are some other practices that our alumni and all of us can use?
Absolutely. So I think that well-being and mindfulness looks different and can take many different forms. So I want to honor that and celebrate that in however you find times of catharsis, well-being, clarity in the midst of your day-to-day lives. I love to practice seated Vipassana meditation, really focused on the breath and breathing. And the art of paying attention to your in-breath and out-breath, of letting go of distracted thoughts or fears or anxieties can help us to take in the reality of impermanence, which in Buddhist terms is known as anicca. And I think the more that we can embrace the impermanence of life and changeability, the more free we become to change, to grow, and to let go of the paradigms that no longer serve us. So I think sometimes we have a sense in which, you know, you ascend to a particular job or program and you have everything figured out. But something I've realized from my own journey and from pretty much every adult I've ever talked to is you never fully have everything figured out. Your vocational path through life can be seen like an art project. It's always in a continual process of evolution, and there's always uncertainty at every step of the way. But the more we can learn to befriend uncertainty, the more peace we can feel in welcoming what we don't know and opening ourselves up to change, which I think is so vital in continuing to grow throughout our lives. So I love Vipassana meditation. I also practice yoga, various different types of, pranayama, yoga for one, I'm very fond of. And I would also recommend folks who are interested in Tai Chi. Is a very powerful practice of grounding and slowing down and really tuning into the vital energies of your body. And forest bathing, spending intentional time outdoors, which has so many physiological benefits and is so good for reducing stress and anxiety. So we live in a difficult world. We're constantly inundated by stimulus. I mean, you all know, our world is obviously shouldering a lot right now. So the more that we can create energetic boundaries with our technology and find mindfulness and spiritual practices that ground us in the present moment, the more resilience we're going to have to weather the inevitable ups and downs of life. So happy to talk more in our breakout room about specific ways of bringing mindfulness, visualization, meditation into our day-to-day lives.
And Sam, can you maybe quickly touch on, what are some ways to ensure you have the time to do this with your busy schedule? I'm sure it was hard for a lot of us to even make time for this session itself. So how do you make time to integrate those things that you brought up?
Absolutely. So you can get up early. You can practice mindfulness practice first thing in the morning before you reach for your devices. You could block out time in your calendar for self-care practices to really be intentional about building it into your schedule. I also am more and more fond of sometimes what's called the holy no, right? I think early in my career, I said yes to a lot of opportunities, and I am a believer in saying yes. But we also have to learn to say no to things that are not in alignment with our vocational journey. So that was hard for the people pleaser in me, but your job is not to make everybody else happy. Your job is not to be all things to all people, right? Try to live out your unique purpose on this earth. And so by saying no to opportunities that are not in alignment for you and don't necessarily lead to your flourishing and to uplifting those around you, but you open up energy to be able to do self-care and give your energy to the things you really do care about. So I would say, learn to say no in order to say yes.
Thank you. I love that. I think we can all learn to say no sometimes a little bit. So Jill, quickly before we move on to the next topic, I know you talked about the have tos and want tos. So did you have anything else to add around this topic?
I think, again, just quickly on this mindfulness, Sam, it seems you do it so gracefully and so well. I'm one of those that struggles. For me, being mindful is hard. And so all the different practices that Sam talked about are great. Obviously, I think exploring some of these different practices and finding what works for you is awesome. To me, I just wanted to add, before you can be mindful or before I can be mindful, I need to clear space in my head. And so when I think of mindfulness, I think of grounding. Sam, you use that word. I think of settling space, right? So when my brain is going a million miles a minute with, should I say yes? Should I say no? Some negative thought, some positive thought. Oh, have I achieved my goals? Do I feel good about myself? Have I done this? Have I done that? How do I create space to be mindful, right? And I like Sam, getting outside and exercising. That's my number one go-to, whether it's an adrenaline rush, like a run or a spin or something methodical, like a hike or a walk. doing those things without AirPods, without listening to a podcast, without your phone, and just really creating space, it does so much for, again, creating space and grounding you, allowing you to be mindful. The other thing, just really quickly, I wanted to add a practice that I like to use, because that idea of time, like creating time to be mindful, that can be hard. That's an art in itself, right? So I like starting my day with exercise. I think that's the time to do it. I prioritize it, but creating time, if I don't have time, one of the things that I like to do to be mindful, I call it top line journaling. I feel like journaling sometimes can be overwhelming. I can get bogged down. I can start to obsess in journaling world. So top lining it, kind of think like outline format, and you take things out of your head and visualize, another word I think, Sam, you use, putting them on paper. And they could be negative thoughts that you literally write down, get it out of your head, put a line through, and reframe. Write a word right next to it that's a positive thought. It could be as simple as a to-do list, a daily list, a weekly or a monthly list, a gratitude, 5 things right away, just boom, 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 that you're grateful for. Again, I love the visual tools. I love getting them literally out of your head and onto paper, and just can feel quite cathartic and create a great sense of space.
Thank you, Jill. I love that. I love the idea around you can't have a positive thought and a negative thought at the same time. So you're kind of putting that down to paper. So that's a little tool I use, even if it's me thinking about my dog a bunch over and over again. That's something better than what I was trying to fill my head with, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the topic with Erik of empathetic communication in a virtual world. So Erik, you gave such a just even authentic answer to your introduction and sort of the framework that you gave us. How can digital platforms sort of be leveraged to encourage authentic expression when people are sort of behind a screen, and build genuine relationships despite the physical distance that, we all are in now with technology?
Great question. I am a firm believer in the power of stories. So one time I was asked to give the commencement address at the University of Colorado. At first I declined because I'm like, what have I done? But the dean kept insisting. And so I did a lot of research into how do you, communicate effectively. The research is clear, it's through stories. And to the extent that you can pull those in, in turn, the audience will receive the authenticity of the story. And so in terms of, an online presence, if you go to our law firm's website, so it's sectorlaw.com, we have a page devoted to our story, and we're authentic. It essentially says, everyone at this firm grew up on welfare, right? And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And number one, we're comfortable sharing that publicly, and it's authentic, right? And then when we show up in person to present to our clients, we'll say the same thing. Right? We're not afraid, and it takes time. I will say it takes time. If for anyone who has a similar background than me, I didn't share my story publicly until that commencement address, right? So I was 35 years old, but I was talking to my wife and I said, if I have to reach these students, I've got to be authentic. And so that was the first time I ever publicly shared my story, because if you grow up in that situation, you can attest and empathize that you just want to be normal, right? And being normal is having some money and not having no money. But when I told my authentic story, the audience was so receptive. People were crying, standing ovation. And so then for me, telling my story, I was like, wow, this has power. And it kind of goes back to the book Daring Greatly, Brené Brown. If you guys have read that book, she has a similar framework. But that's what I would do. When you feel comfortable sharing your story, I would say there's nothing more powerful. And I teach too. I teach at the University of Colorado. When you guys are in that setting, you can tell right away if your professor is authentic. Does he want to be there, he or she, does he want to be there or not? And I think that all just goes to authenticity and embracing the story and who you are. One final thought on this point: whatever you struggled with as a child makes you superhuman as an adult. I firmly believe that. And somewhere along your journey, you're going to have the same epiphany.
I love that. We're all superheroes. So Eric, I think that is like a common barrier that a lot of us have, are those lessons that we learned and haven't unlearned, quite yet. What are some other barriers that you have recognized that sort of prevent you from having, authentic or empathetic communication in a digital space or life?
Life's easier than the digital space. I think, again, when you realize you're on the right path, and again, it takes time. I'm a firm believer too in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. It's not about monetary wealth. It's about rich in every other sense. A component of that is monetary wealth. But when you're on the right path, I believe, like Napoleon Hill does in this book, and this book is really influential for a lot of people, the universe will conspire for you. And those barriers that you perceive are almost eliminated because you bring your full self to the endeavor, and people sense that. And people want to be around people who are going for it. I was listening to a podcast the other day with Cooper Kupp. So my son's 11. He plays football, flag football, huge Cooper Kupp fan. And he said the same thing. He's like, people root for people who go for it. And when you're going for it, those barriers that you perceive at first, from my journey and my experience, I can tell you, number one, you can overcome them. And again, people will join you in the effort for you going for whatever you want to go for.
Thank you. And Sam, with all of your travels and communicating with just different people that come from a different place or from a different background, I'm curious of what your thoughts are on this topic.
Sure, absolutely. So I remember my first day teaching ninth grade, we were talking about how to communicate effectively in class. And we had a ninth grader from China say, that we have 2 ears to listen. And yet we only have one mouth. And essentially he said, when we speak, we repeat something we already know. But when we listen, we have the chance to learn something new. And that has always stuck with me, because I think that cultivating the art of active listening and asking good questions is just as important, if not more, than being able to narrate or tell your own story to a potential employer, a colleague, to an audience you're speaking with, etc. Of course, crafting a narrative around your story and your skills is vital and so important, and that's actually something we're going to work on in our breakout session. But in the journey of finding your vocational pathway, they say it's more important to be interested than interesting, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. Ask people about their lives. Ask people about what makes them come alive. Practice what's called curiosity conversations. You'd be surprised. Like, you don't even have to share all that much about yourself to really get somebody else going about their story. And the benefit of that is you learn so many kernels of wisdom and ideas from those other people. And I think that is a superpower. And people want to work around others who are curious, who are engaging, who are collaborative and collegial people. So the more you can work on active listening, curiosity, holding space for others, and making people feel affirmed and celebrated, taking the time to get to know their name, get to know what they love to do, the more doors that's going to open up in your life. And I can't emphasize that enough. I've been fortunate to speak in several countries, over 60 different schools, universities, organizations. And most of those doors have opened up simply because I was curious and I got on the phone with somebody and just asked them about their life, their passions, their work. And somehow that has led from one opportunity to the next.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next topic with Elsa. So this is holistic wellness and balancing screen time and self-care. So Elsa, you told us about how you know, ventured out and started Zumba and are loving that. Can you talk about how do you prioritize you are making time for that, and what steps can we take just to prioritize these types of things and establish boundaries for ourselves?
Yes, absolutely. So I think before I do that, I mean, it's impressive to see, our panel and the opportunities and the activities that they already do. But I want to say something because I had to find myself. As I said, I'm an immigrant. I came to the US when I was 17. And I have to honestly tell you that I tried to do the initial acupuncture and I did the yoga and I couldn't find myself in the right place. You know, like this is not the right studio for me. I don't fit here and all this stuff. So I will encourage you to find your place. And by that, I will tell you that when I found my place, I found my people and I found my community to be able to do it. So I do yoga, but I do bilingual yoga at a community center where I feel like, oh, this is where I belong. And so sometimes I think some of the approaches or the practices or the opportunities that are presented to you don't quite fit. And so you have to figure out who am I? Because I think a lot of the practices have been created primarily for white males. And here I am, the immigrant woman with the accent, trying to figure out how am I going to fit in this world. But it has been across my life. You know, in the same way that it took me a while to figure out about leadership. I couldn't fit the leadership models. And like, this is not for me, this is not for me, this is not for me. Then I found servant leadership. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is the one that fits my culture, my approach, my perspective. And so my mentor and my coach was a trainer, Isabel Lopez from the Servant Leadership Institute, who was able to guide me into what are my values and my perspective and everything else. And I tell you that because I think that's the same approach that we have to take about taking time for yourself. Because I told you I have 5 kids, we have a blended family. I have 5 children. I have all these people in my family. So to create that space for me, it had to mean so much that I was finding people that were welcoming me, people that were there. So to find a place where people hug you when you're coming in and people hug you when you leave was like, oh, yes, this is where I belong. This is the place that is going to be there. So it took me a while to also figure out that taking time for me, given my very difficult, my very busy schedule, meant that it was the only way I was going to be able to show up and be effective for others. And because of my perspective, I'm also the oldest of the 7 children. So my perspective about, how I look at the world, I didn't believe that for a long time. I thought, how could I be doing this when I can be doing something for somebody else? And it took me a while to figure out my best self is when I'm taking care of myself. And I'm able to show up in the best place because I am balanced, because I have that perspective and being able to do it. So then it doesn't become quite so difficult to say, this is the time that I'm going to set aside for me. And it's going to be my special place, my place where we're going to do it. And remember that I told you about this Zumba class and this woman. And I thought, we have a wrong about mental health and what mental health is how it is. When I joined that group, one of the questions that they asked me is, why are you here? What are you taking care of? I don't know, because of course, we have a Thanksgiving holiday party. We have all kinds of parties that we do together. And I said, I'm here because my body needs it, my shoulder is hurting, blah, blah, blah. And then they told me why they were there. And they said, it's because I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I don't have anybody to talk to, I don't have all these things. And I thought, oh, I thought the Zumba was going to be about dancing. It's about mental health. And it's about what they call my special place. And everybody was like, we'll welcome you to our special place and our time together. But is the culturally relevant work that we have to do? and finding, I knew what culturally relevant was. I didn't know what it meant for me until I figure out that this is the right place, and now I welcome it. You know, I'm in those places. I can make the place and the time, but I also have to feel, so we all talk about belonging. I also feel like I have to belong. I have to be part of that environment, not a guest, not the extra. I have to belong. I have to be part of that process. And I think we all know when we're in a place where we belong. And we know when we're in a place where it doesn't fit. So if it doesn't fit, move on. And so it's what I learned on my first job. And I tell you, even where I am right now, I actually have a degree in finance and a master's in public administration. And they ended up in the nonprofit sector because I love to figure out where the money can go to the communities that I care about. In my work about early childhood is because I know it is the greatest investment that we can make. So I look at the world from a different perspective, but it is this approach that has brought me full circle into my community and knowing that they are the ones who are nurturing me and taking care of me so I can go and do the work that in some cases they don't have the opportunity to do. And so I know the privilege that I have and I treasure it. I appreciate it and I look for how do I give back because I have been so fortunate to find my place, to find my organization, to find my community. And a lot easier to do when you feel like you belong.
Thank you. I love the hugging reference. So what can we all look for when we need to maybe shift our habits or find a more balanced approach? You know, what are some things we should be looking for to know that we need to do that?
Yeah, I think what it is I think sometimes those gifts are going to come I think somebody else talked about curiosity. It's about the ability to explore and the ability to go and find what you think is going to be the right thing and the ability to try out things that you may not seen yet or be able to do it. Everything is, and I think that's what's going to get you to the place where it's going to be. The other thing is that your journey is yours. I'm telling you mine, but you get to decide what your journey is going to be, what your approach is going to be. And what I tell you works for me, it may not work for you, but I can tell you what I tried and where I went and where I spent time. And so I spend time with a lot of different communities and have been able to find the places where I feel this is where I belong. And so I have spent time with a lot of my Jewish friends, my Asian friends, my Black friends, and everybody has given me pieces that complement who I am. And then you can figure out that way and say, go and spend time and enter into places that you may not know. And I totally agree. If it's not the right place, say no and walk away and go and find the place that it is for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to move into our last topic of the panel with Jill, purposeful living in a tech-driven world and aligning your values. So again, sort of going back to what you said, Jill, because it sticks out to me, like the have-tos and the want-tos.
Right.
What approaches can we all take to assure we're aligning those values with our practices?
So I think the first step, obviously, is to identify your personal values. You know, make a list, write them down. Personal values, you know, what's important to you? How do you define yourself? What brings you meaning? What brings meaning to your life and to your work? So identifying your personal values first and foremost. And again, they could be things like ambition, wealth, adventure, education, community, right? Any of those things. So that's an exercise in and of itself. And then, you know, to follow up on that theme of need to versus choosing or wanting to, think about the ways that you engage digitally, right? Are they need-based or are they want-based, right? Are you choosing engagements or do you need to engage in specific ways? You know, example, need-based, that probably would have to do with maybe career or school or achieving your goals. That might align with wealth ambition, money, core value, right? Success, if that's how you define success. And then the things that you identify, the ways that you engage because they're of your choosing or you want to. For example, YouTube, are you learning something? You know, is education a core value for you? So do you engage with YouTube to satisfy that need? Do you use Facebook and Instagram for social connections? Do they help foster and build a sense of community? That said, you know, again, you're going to engage digitally. We all are. We have to, you know, I'm probably unique in the group. I don't have a lot of need to engage digitally. My work is mostly in person. I prefer that. And I don't desire to engage. I don't have a lot of wants that I do online. I'd rather be, again, fostering personal engagements, you know, family time, outdoor time. And, but that said, I still get sucked into screen time, right? We all do. So I think once you identify those needs versus the wants, digging in a little bit deeper and seeing where they align, where they don't align, and paying attention to how those types of engagements make you feel. Do they foster a sense of well-being? I guess that's what we're talking about. Do they make you feel proud? Do they bring you down? Do they create FOMO? Do they create anxiety? Do they make you feel stressed? Do they build your confidence, or do they feel like they tear you down? Do you come away from an engagement online feeling like, oh, you're not worthy or you're less than? And so I think identifying, again, core values, identifying the ways that you engage, are they need-based? Are they want-based? Managing your time within those buckets, right? Because one thing is going to come at the expense of another. It's going to be hard to build and foster your alignment and your engagements on the things that align with your core values if you're not managing your time on the need-based. Are you scrolling through emails? Are you doom scrolling? Are you answering text? Are you conversations that you don't need to be engaged in at the expense of something, doing something you want or choose that aligns with your core values? So again, identify core values, identify where you're spending your time, and then make some tweaks if you need to. Ask yourself where are you sacrificing time?
Thank you. That was such a good answer. You actually answered the second question I was going to ask. So thank you.
I kind of did. And so I realized I rambled into that. But again, the two go hand in hand, right? So once you've made these lists, you know, again, I'm a big fan of visualization. You've created your wheel, you've created your pie where your time is being allocated, what's important to you. You're putting weight, bigger slice of your pie, you know, more room in your bucket for certain things. Then step back, assess, stay true to yourself and authentic, and figure out where you can adjust. What do you need to eliminate? I mean, again, you know, I said answering this question in my introduction, keep it simple. To me, less is more. And that also ties into the way I look at mindfulness. You know, mindfulness, I've got to create space. You can't do everything. One thing's going to come at the expense of another. You know, it's kind of a yin and a yang. And so again, make adjustments, take time out, set boundaries, you know, manage your time online, eliminate Instagram if it's not serving you. Bow out of a group text chat because you're finding yourself, you know, taking twice as long to get your work done or your school done because your phone keeps pinging and you've got 10 people in a group chat that you're trying to have a conversation with while you're multitasking things that need to get done. And pretty soon your day is done and gone and over, and your sense of well-being is not where it should be.
Thank you so much. Before we move into the alumni introductions, Erica, I was curious if you had anything to add to this, or maybe how we can spin it to how organizations can incorporate some of these things as well.
The only additional thought is I'm also a fan, so I give you guys a lot of book recommendations. I'm a fan of the 5 a.m. club, and that's just about discipline. I think number one, you're pretty mindful when no one else is up. So you're able to plan your day. Once you get in the habit of getting up early, I think if my experience is any indication, you're going to love it and you actually long for that time. And I think really at the end of the day, it's about discipline, because anything you want to achieve in life, you have to be committed to it. You have to have discipline. And by forcing, the mind to say, nope, when the alarm clock goes off, this is what we do, right? Then whatever happens in life, you've trained your body and your mind for that moment. That's the only thing I would add.
I like it.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move to alumni introductions. So for this, I'm just gonna go through who I see on my screen first, so I make sure I cover everyone. So I'll call you out, but if you guys could just introduce yourself and just let us know an area where you might be struggling finding balance between all things technology and life. And I just would love to know where your happy place is. And in the meantime, I'm going to change the background of my happy place. Because what Elsa said really stuck out to me is currently what fulfills me like on a weekly basis. That is for me. So I'm going to change my background to that. But I'm going to start with Akshay. You are first.
See, hi, I'm Akshay. I just graduated from the University of Michigan, and I'm a software engineer at Amazon. I definitely struggle finding balance, getting away from my computer between work and having fun, or just like working on a little project on the side. I definitely find myself more and more attached to my desk and my computer, and I know that sometimes I can be pretty negligent of not only like my relationships and the people around me, but just taking the time to get away from it all and go out and be in nature. And being in Boulder, I definitely should take more of an advantage of that. So yeah, one thing that I did this year is like a ski pass to try to be a little bit more outdoorsy, but we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Okay, Tara, you're next.
There we go. Sorry, you all. Hi, everybody. I'm Tiara. My happy place. My bed when I take naps. Oh, that's hilarious. No, but very honestly, I really like taking walks. When I think about what I'm struggling with right now in regards to technology, I don't think my problem is more so like screen time. I was on like a fast for like a year and a half of social media, and that was honestly like the best time for me. And so I think for me, it's not really screen time, but it's more so just like me working from home. I only go into the office twice a month. And so like I live alone. I'm like usually alone all the time. I mean, I have, calls with work, but like I basically work alone. And so for me, it's just like taking those times to get out of the house and like be intentional about that. Like, when I'm out, saying hello to people and just really getting out of the house. And so I think that's just like how I don't know, I guess have been trying to think about, yes, technology isn't my thing, but replacing that time with technology with like, even if it's not nature, just being social and being around people, whatever that may look like.
Thank you. Crawford, did you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I think my happy place is definitely in nature. I spent 2 summers working in Jackson Hole at a summer camp, and like when I reflect on that and think back throughout my college experience, I feel like those were almost the times I felt the most fulfilled and the most happy, and even the most productive. And I think that something I'm struggling with as a college student is kind of taking that initiative to continue that in school. And I think not, like when I was there, I was already in that environment, but now taking the next steps to continue to put myself in that situation is kind of something I want to work on.
Thank you. All right, Tyler, you're up. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I had my mic muted too. Do you mind repeating the question just so I know know what I'm answering, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah. What is one area where you struggle just to maintain balance with technology in life, and what is your happy place?
I would say my happy place is in the sun. I've spent 9 years in Portland, Oregon, and I just moved down to California. And 1.5 weeks here, I didn't realize how much the sun alone could do for me, because I used to spend a lot of time in the forest or in my plant classes. But there's something very different about feeling warm and not feeling consistently cold or wet. Or at least for me personally. I know some people really enjoy that, but that's, I would say, just in the sun has been my happy place. And then I consistently want to learn more about certain topics, or like my favorite, like, how do I put this? I consistently want to learn more about my certain topics that I'm interested in, but I've genuinely watched every video on YouTube in my niche, in like the 3 niches that I'm interested in. And I don't want to watch anything else in those times. And so it's really hard for me to kind of, I'm not one to watch a random YouTube video or scroll really hard on videos. And so trying to replace that time with something new, either a podcast or something, has been what I've been trying to do, but finding peace with myself and quietness in my own mind. I think I don't always have to fill the space with videos or with podcasts. And so I think that that's something I've kind of been trying to work on, but I'm looking for other people's suggestions too, because, I've watched every video on oyster mushroom farming and on recycling malls and on, starting your own small business that's focused on sustainability. And so kind of trying to find those ideas either in that deep thinking mode, or I'm trying to engage, like Tira had said about, trying to engage socially and trying to kind of help the mind. But, that's kind of where I'm struggling with. So
Thank you for sharing that. And be wary of what you ask for, because I will send you cow videos and
see, I'm down for it, rescue farms. That's another niche.
All right, Alexa, you're up.
Hello, I'm Alexa. Everybody else is like, well, a lot of other people are newly graduated, but I'm phasing out. So this is my last one. I think, my happy place. I just went to the TCU game last week, so I knew Eric would enjoy this. I know he's a big football fan. But I think that where I struggle is that I'm so busy and inundated with notifications, and I'm trying to get back to people on text message or emails, that I really struggle with disconnecting. And if I am disconnected, I'm like constantly thinking about it. If I'm like not answering, it's like important to me to be disconnected, but I also have some sort of like innate guilt, for like not getting back to people. But it's also, we need our time to ourselves, but it's like a habit, I believe. So I'm trying to break the habit, but it's just really, really difficult. So I feel like that's most pressing for me.
Thank you. And Connie, you're next, followed by Jose.
Hi everyone, I'm Connie. My happy place is going for a walk at like sunrise. Like I've been doing that for years. When I'm consistent with it, it just like really changes my day, and I feel like I just have time to just like start before the world starts, and that just makes a world of a difference. Right now I'm struggling with implementing all of the things that I am learning on social media and the internet, and not being stuck in just a space of learning. I think that there's a big difference between consuming content and then executing on that content, that or whatever you've learned. And I've been stuck in the former for a long time. I feel like this summer I've kind of been moving towards implementing, but I find that I can quickly go back to being kind of like, I would say, passive and not active. So that's where I'm trying to improve.
Hi everyone, my name is Jose. I think one of my happy places amongst a lot that I think of is like I usually take my dog out for a walk slash play fetch at the park like around 6 a.m. It's really nice around that time. I like usually go right after the gym, but it's like quiet, it's peaceful. We have like I have her off leash, right? And she just has this big field and just kind of just has a good time, right? And I think it's just kind of cool and peaceful. Like the other day, like a hawk kind of swooped in, was like hovering around. I don't know if she thought my dog was food or what, but I thought it was kind of cool in that sense, you know what I mean? Um, and in regards to like disconnecting, I think I have a hard kind of time for sure when disconnected to technology overall. Because one, I'm in a senior sales position, so like I'm in a pretty much kind of reactive transaction, like it's high volume type of sales position I'm working at right now, as well as I'm trying my best to like build up my small business consulting firm as well. So it's either like, I'm working full time, trying to work part time as well. So that's kind of going crazy. I like am in love with like media and like comics, movies, like TV, all that stuff. So those types of like news and outlets kind of like interest me. So I am constantly like on Twitter or like TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Kind of just like, I like reading about what's coming new or new trailers about XYZ, right? And then I don't know, I just keep myself in a rabbit hole of just kind of, if it's not my laptop, it's my phone. If it's not my phone, then uh that I'm watching TV or playing video games, and yeah, I guess I am pretty, stuck on just social media and just screens. So maybe I just need to find a way to back it down a little bit. So
Thank you both for sharing. I'm really impressed by how many 5 a.m. club people we have on this call. Okay, Caleb, you're up next, followed by Devante.
Hey everybody, sorry I can't share my camera. I am actually cleaning my kitchen. I just finished making dinner. I'm actually just a brief wrap up of who I am. I'm a fourth year student right now at Florida A&M University, studying business administration with a minor in music industry. And I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I guess as you can imagine, with studying business and music industry, and actually being a songwriter and performer, I'm pretty much always around technology, whether it's, doing homework, learning new things related to business, reading business news, or recording music, and, everything in that world of things. And so it's actually very hard to give myself a break because it's like when I'm not doing school related work, I'm often creating content, or recording music or doing other things. And so I have to be very intentional about my time. And so I wouldn't say like, I feel like this school year I started off on a really good note about doing that. Like every Sunday I've been going to the gym for 2 hours, and in that time, I've been making sure to just completely disconnect from everything that's, doesn't exist in the gym. And kind of same thing with just like my homework, just certain times a day, like where I can kind of at least get rid of maybe one of my devices. So, putting my phone away for a while, not not taking any devices in the bathroom with me when I'm getting ready in the morning or at night and things like that. And so yeah, it just takes a matter of being really intentional about it, but it's definitely difficult, and something that I want to learn how to do more efficiently for sure. Like I said, it's just very hard in my position, at least with being both a business student and a recording artist.
Hello, my name's Devante. I am an alumni class of 2018, I guess, so 5 years out. I would say that my happy place is probably just kind of music and like being in that state of listening to the sounds and the beats, and it can be really anywhere. I mean, I was like taking a flight yesterday and I felt like I was like at a concert. But I do kind of like the same things when I'm chilling at home. So I'd say that music is really a big part of my happy place. And I guess not necessarily a struggle of mine, but more a kind of, I don't know, point of no return potential that I kind of see in the world. Like social media and the internet that we know today, it's been made that we like keep going back to it. It's as dangerous as like sugar addiction and some of these other issues. So it's like as we continue to be more connected in this global kind of like world, how do you like how are you able to have a kind of social media presence, having access to all 8.8 billion people on the planet when that is not what our brains were meant for as humans, while also all these kind of like technological advances to make us work better and kind of having, data-driven insights, like you lose creativity and also it just like makes things more formulaic. So just like look into the future with the technology that we have, I don't see companies or the people that are creating these technologies or even the government putting things in place to kind of like stop addiction to our screens when it's become necessary to do so many things in life today. So that's me.
Thank you for sharing that, Devante. Okay, Elizabeth and Caleb. Elizabeth, you're up next, followed by Abdul.
Hi everyone. Yeah, my happy place I chose San Luis, where my parents are from. That's a place I really enjoy being. I don't go out too often, but yeah. And then something I struggle with is I think just staying like I think Devante mentioned like it's an addiction. So like coming back from it is incredibly hard. So like once I start, it's hard to stop. And then I am not a morning person. So the thing I tend to do is stay up at night because I feel like I don't know, just my brain just works better at nighttime. I feel more energized. So I have a tendency to either start to like clean and just do a bunch of random stuff that I probably shouldn't be doing, like laundry and stuff like that. So um yeah, I think that for me is like my biggest struggle is just making like things, getting things to stop, getting my addiction to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Abdul. Also a recent graduate. Went to Cornell, studied urban planning. Right now I'm a development analyst for a real estate firm. Um, my happy place is, just being on my bike. Uh, one of the few people like I work at doesn't have a car in Charleston. It's pretty car-centric town, but yeah, I just think it's a great way to explore the city, go out in nature. I feel like when you're driving, you're kind of like just focused on, not hitting people, getting to where you want to go. But when you're on a bike, it's just a cool way to explore places. So it's definitely like one of my happy places. Um, One thing I struggle with is um, just trying to stay consistent. And I think like, take just consistent with achieving short-term and long-term goals. Um, when I went to Annual Inspire, like one of the takeaways from it was just thinking like long-term, like in building out long-term goals and trying to back it down to like, daily things one needs to do to achieve that. Um, and I've been working on that, and one of the things is like, yeah, the 5 a.m. wake up times get a lot done, but I think one thing I struggle with is, after waking up early, going to work, working out and all that, coming back home, um, it's just really, really easy to just get on the couch or get on the bed and just, scroll my phone. Recently, like, like quit social media, but like I'm a big fan of chess. So like I play like some chess games, and I tell myself, well, I'm just gonna do like a 1 minute game, but now it's like 21-minute games, and it's like 40 minutes later. So, um, just I think just being consistent has been like uh a struggle, especially with just it's easy to just get on your phone and play, and I think it's like different intervals. It wouldn't be like a long period of time where I'm not focused, but throughout the day you have like several sessions where you accumulate all of that. Could have been a bit more productive. So just trying to work on that.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I hope people's conversations didn't get disrupted too much at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed those intimate groups. I think at least in the one I was in, there was a lot of, how do we sort of detach from the digital space? How do we meet people where they are with their digital space? One of my best friends hasn't used the internet in 11 years. So if he can do it for 11 years, I think we can all scale. Oh yeah, it's kind
That's
of
great.
it is. He ironically was recently interviewed on a podcast that he has no way to listen to, but so quick wrap up for this session. Yes, Justin, it is wild. And he lives in New York City. He lives in New York City, no internet for the last 11 years. Okay, so quick wrap up. We'll put a follow-up survey in the chat for our alumni to complete. We always learn, improve, and change these sessions based on your feedback. So appreciate that. I'll also put that in an email tomorrow. Just a quick save the dates for all of you that are on here. We have our in-person Illinois meetup next week. We're doing a fun graffiti art workshop. In-person alumni meetup in New York on October 11th, where we'll be doing like a game show buster room thing. Our virtual career fair is October 15th. So super excited about that. And then in-person events in New York also include our pitch prep session and idea creation session. And then December 3rd is our all advisor session with these advisors, plus our other two teams, the executive and leadership advisors. So following this in the next couple weeks, we'll send out so you guys can sign up for that, and you can sign up for the individual workshops that our advisors will be leading. So those will be shorter panel, longer workshops, tangible takeaways. I'm super excited about all the ideas that our advisors have. As a reminder, Pete's one of our advisors this year, so he'll be leading a workshop as well. So you can RSVP with me or Anne-Marie via email if you're interested in attending any of those things. But super appreciative of you guys for joining. I know some of you might have missed or delayed watching the debate, so hope you get to catch all of that. And stay informed with the alumni website. But thank you guys all for joining, and we'll see you next time.